Hey guys, welcome back to my channel if you're new. My name's Elise, welcome, thanks for watching. So a few days ago I created this really elongated cat eye smoky eye and I posted it on my Instagram. If you're not following my Instagram, I'll insert my handle here, here, or here. Follow me. I posted that picture and I asked on Instagram if you guys wanted to see that look, and it was like 100% yes. So I'm now going to film that look. Hopefully I can recreate it. It wasn't too hard actually. I only used I think 4 colors total. I didn't film it because I wasn't sure how it would turn out, so I didn't want to film something and it turned out completely horrible, but I love the way it turned out. So now I'm hopefully can recreate it. So I guess let's just get on started with the video. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified when I post new videos. And let's just get on started, guys. I'm going to start off with my eyes since this is a pretty intense smoky eye look. And I'm going to prep my eyes with the MAC Soft Ochre paint pot. And I'm just going to apply this all over my lid on both eyes. This is just going to ensure that your eyeshadow stays on all day. Especially if you have oily eyelids, you really want to make sure that you're prepping your eyelid. It also helps with canceling out any redness you have on your eyes, any discoloration, any hyperpigmentation, any veins that you have showing on your eyes. It just creates an even base. Now that we have that down, the palette that I'm going to be using for this look is the Tartelette in Bloom palette. It looks like this. It has beautiful neutral shades and then it has 2 shimmer shades, which I really love this palette. I feel like it's so universal. You can create so many different looks with this palette. It's an everyday look. You can do a going out look, any type of look. I really love this palette and it smells so good too. It's weird, but it smells wonderful. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to set the primer with a neutral eyeshadow shade. So I'm just going to take any brush that I have and I'm just going to go into this shade Charmer right here. It is a flesh tone color. And all I'm going to do is just put that all over where I put the base. And what this is going to do, it's really going to help ensure that the shadows that you're putting on top of your eye next are really going to blend effortlessly. Now that we have that down, to ensure that, all my eyeshadows are going to go on really nicely, and this palette, honestly, this formula is great. It blends like a dream. Amazing. I'm actually going to go in with a transition shade now. So since we're going to go a little bit more smoky, I want to start off with a lighter color and work my way up to that dark browny black color. So I'm going to go in with this shade. It is called Smarty Pants in the palette. I'm going to take a simple crease brush. This is the Morphe R39 brush, and I'm just going to actually clean this real fast. So I have this daily brush cleaner from Sephora. You can use it. It's quick drying, so you can use it right before you apply your eyeshadow and you don't have to worry about it being wet. So all you do is you spray it like on a cloth or a paper towel, then you swirl your brush in it. Now I'm going to go in with that shade Smarty Pants, and I'm just going to start putting that on my upper crease and really trying to build up that color. I'm using such a light hand, honestly you might not even be able to see it on camera right now, but what I'm doing is I'm kind of focusing on elongating my eye. So what I'm doing is I'm not dragging it down at the end, I'm not rounding it out. I'm really just kind of creating a straight line. Since my eyes are slightly downturned, I don't want to emphasize that, droopy eyelid. Not that I have a droopy eye, but since they do go down and I want to elongate it, I want to lift my eye, I'm going to create a straight line with the shadow so that way it starts elongating my eye. And you'll see it all come together. So I'm just really using the lightest hand ever. Always start with a small amount because it's easier to build up a color rather than take color away. So especially if you're really not used to, using dark eyeshadows, if you're not used to blending, just start off really light-handed with a small amount and then just build up from there. And what you can do to make this a little bit easier is you can apply tape going like this. That way, if you kind of you want to do it if you want to do it haphazardly and you really don't want to try to really be there for hours. You can put some tape there. I'm not going to do that. For me, sometimes it really helps to look straight forward into a mirror and not close my eyelids, because when I do open my eyelids, obviously you get that fold over your eye. So if you're putting this color in the crease and then you open your eye, you won't really even be able to see that color. So that's just another little tip, is to keep your eyes open and look straight forward when you're applying the color on your eyelid. So I'm just really building up this color to the intensity that I want it at before I go in to a darker shade. So I kind of follow along too with my eyebrow, kind of just like put the color right towards the tail end of my brow. And I'm just going to take whatever's left over on my brush and really drag that color on the inner part of my eye, so the inner corners. And that's really going to help just smoke it out and diffuse the look. So now I'm going to start to deepen up this eye look. So I'm going to go into this deep, dark chocolate brown color in this palette. It is the shade, whoa! It's the shade Activist right here. I'm really just going to take a small amount and work my way to the color that I want. And I just cleaned off the same brush and I'm applying it on the same brush. I find this brush, so this again, it's the Morphe R39. I love this brush to really get a precise application of eyeshadow on my eye. So again, I'm taking the smallest amount of product and I'm really just going to start lightly building this up. And where you place your eyeshadow first, that's where you're going to get the most pigment. So just keep that in mind when you're creating a look. If you start all the way over here, that's where you're going to get the most pigment. And most of the time you want that outer portion of your eye to be more smoky. So that's where I like to start my pigment. And then I always drag the excess in the corners of my eye. And it's okay if some of it gets on your lid like mine did. We're going to be using some concealer to carve out that crease and apply a shimmer shade. So now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start connecting this part of my eyelid right here that is bare, and then I'm going to start connecting that to the tail end of my eyeshadow where that ends, because I want to create more of that cat eye effect rather than a cut crease. So we're going to be doing a half cut crease, not a full cut crease. Well, for this, what I like to do, since my eyelids are a little bit hooded, what I like to do is kind of lift up my eye and close it a little bit so I can get rid of those lines. And then I'll just start lightly dragging the color down. And really take your time to blend. It's a long process, but blending really helps to get the look all put together. And then if you find that you lose that transition shade, like mine's kind of lost, I'm actually going to go back in later and buff out these edges with that transition color. So now I want to deepen up this look even more, so I'm going to be going into the black color in this eyeshadow palette. It is the color Smoke Show. It's down here. This is a pretty matte black. It's not too pigmented, so you can build it up if you need to. But always when you're trying a new black eyeshadow, use, again, a small amount because you don't know how pigmented it's going to be. So I'm just going to deepen up the outer corners with this black eyeshadow. And again, I'm using the exact same brush, so this eyeshadow look is super easy. All you really need is one brush, but I do clean my brush with that brush cleaner. Just use like a brush cleaner that you don't have to use water for, so that you don't have to wait for your brushes to dry, basically. But I do clean it off before I dip into another color, so we're not mixing colors. So when you're mixing colors, they can kind of get kind of muddy, and we don't want that look. So I'm really focusing this color on the outer portion of my eye rather than bringing it all the way in. And I'm just going to deepen it up a little bit more, so I'm just going to dip my brush back into that black color. And I really just pat and then tap off any excess. Okay, so now what I'm going to do next, since I've reached the intensity that I want, is I'm actually going to take a more fluffy brush. You don't have to, you can use the exact same brush. Make sure you clean it off though. But, so I'm going to take a little bit more fluffy of a brush, and I'm going to go back into that Smarty Pants color and just diffuse the black out. I'm not going to do the bottom lash line yet. I'm going to go back into the bottom lash line after I'm done with my complexion, but I am going to be applying some mascara. I'm not doing any eyeliner today. Honestly, like, I don't really like eyeliner. I'm not that good at it, and because I have that slightly hooded eyelid, I find that I find that eyeliner really doesn't look good on my eye shape. That's just me. I'm going to do my lashes, and I'm going to be using the Maybelline Lash Sensational, I swear I can never say this, Lash Sensational Mascara. I'll just apply that and be right back. Okay, so I totally realized I didn't even want to apply mascara yet, so after my second eye, I was like, oh crap. So I'm just going to let my eyelashes dry a little bit from this mascara, and then I'm going to go back in to the lid, and we're going to finish up the lid. So what I'm going to do for the lid is I'm actually going to take a little bit of concealer. This is just the Tarte Shape Tape, and I'm going to apply a little bit of this on the back of my hand. And I'm going to half cut my crease. So I'm going to carve it out a little bit. And I'm just taking a Morphe M421 brush and putting a little bit on the back of the brush. And then I'm just going to go in and carve out half of the crease. So definitely carve out the crease before you put on mascara. It's kind of hard, but that's okay, because sometimes, you know, we're not perfect. And if the carving out of the crease isn't perfect, that's okay too, because we're just applying like a glitter shade over it, and then we're going to go back in with the black and brown to kind of diffuse that out a little bit. So I have these carved out as good as they can get, so they look like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in to a different palette. You don't have to do this. There are really pretty shimmer shades in this Tarte in Bloom palette, like this shade right here, Funny Girl, but I wanted a little bit more of a bronzy color, so I'm actually going into the Dominique Cosmetics Latte palette, and I am going to be taking the shade Espresso. I'm actually just going to take my finger and apply that directly where we just carved out that crease. Now I'm just going to go back into the Tartelette in Bloom palette, and I'm just going to buff out the harsh edges. And I'm going to be using the dark brown shade, which is, again, the shade Activist. This is basically just going to help blend in that shimmer shade with the matte shades. So now that I'm done with the eyes, we're going to move on to the complexion. So I'm going to be priming my skin with the Maybelline Master Prime Primer Base. This is in the Blur and Smooth. It is like white. Kind of looks like glue, honestly. I really like this. I've been using this like every single day. And for foundation, I'm going to be using the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage Foundation. This is in the shade Buff Beige, 130 Buff Beige. And I'm just going to put that on a just going to put this on a damp beauty sponge. This one's from Morphe. I am wearing a shirt, by the way. Now, I don't put a lot on my forehead, just I know I have a big forehead. Yeah, so I know my forehead, you know, can get its own zip code and all, but I find that my forehead needs the least amount of coverage, so I don't apply too much foundation on my forehead. And then I'm just going to take a little bit, maybe half a pump to a full pump, and I'm going to drag it down my neck just to make sure, you know, everything is one color. Okay, so now I'm going to use a color corrector, and this is the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. This is the shade light to medium. I've used this before, and I'm just going to apply a little bit under my eyes. Make sure when you're applying concealer or like a color corrector, don't forget the inner corners of your eyes. That's where most people have a ton of shadows and darkness there. So don't forget that. Oh my god. I have a freckle right here and I thought it was like eyeshadow and I'm like, what is this? So basically what I do for this one, I have this little dual-ended concealer brush from Tarte. I take the smaller end and I apply the product, and then when I find I buffed it out as much as I can, I'll take this fluffier side and I'll just kind of pat it down to get rid of any creases or wrinkles and whatnot, and it really helps blend that product in. And then I'm going to go in with some concealer, and I'm going to be using that same Tarte Shape Tape that I used to cut the crease, and this is in the shade Light Medium Honey. I don't bring my concealer all the way up because I find when I blend it, it just goes up as I'm blending it. So I kind of like to keep it kind of down. And I find that most of my darkness is right here anyway. And then I'm just going to take some on my chin, my cupid's bow, some on my forehead, and then I'm just going to bring it down the center of my nose. Taking the same beauty sponge, I'm just going to go and blend everything out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend out my under eyes first, and then I'm going to blend out the rest, and I'm going to leave my nose for last since we want that to kind of sit a little bit more so the nose has a more pronounced definition line. And when you're doing this, really make sure not to get that, make sure not to cover the eyeshadow that we worked so hard on. Let me know if you guys want me to do like a contour and highlighting video on how to like cream contour, powder contour, cream highlight, powder highlight. I've been thinking about doing it. I'm probably going to do it anyway. But let me know if you guys want to see it. Like this video, comment if you want to see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really make sure that there's no wrinkles or creases under my eyes before I apply my powder. And then I'm going to take my favorite powder right now. It is the Too Faced Peach Perfect Mattifying Setting Powder, and I'm going to bake. And I'm using the Beauty Blender again, and it's damp. Make sure you always dampen your Beauty Blender. And we're just going to apply that everywhere where we highlighted our face. If you find that your concealer is creasing under your eyes, try baking. I found that when I started letting the powder sit there for, you know, a couple seconds, honestly even helps, maybe like 15 seconds. Usually what I'll do is I'll do my powder and then I'll go in and fill in my eyebrows and then I'll dust it away, which I'll do now. But it really helps to lock in that concealer. And I always get my smile lines also. It really helps to lock in that concealer and really help it stay all day. Okay, so now while I'm letting that sit, I'm going to go in and do my brows. So I'm trying out a new brow product, and I've used it maybe 4 times so far, and I really like it. It's a brow powder. It is the Benefit Foolproof Brow Powder. This is in the shade 3. It looks like this, so it has 2 different shades. So the inner part of your eyebrow, it has a lighter shade, and then the tail end, it has a darker shade, because that's kind of how your brows naturally are. But what I like to do is I actually like to mix the 2 colors together, and it creates a really gorgeous color for my eyebrows. And all I'm using is an angled liner brush, and I'm going to go ahead and fill in my brows. And I'm just gonna brush up my brows first, and we're gonna start filling them in. So I literally just mix the 2 colors together and start filling them in. And I like to start at the top arch. Really, I just fill in any sparse areas that I think I have, or anywhere where I kind of want my brow to be a little bit darker. Like I said in a video before, I really like when my eyebrows are dark, so that's why I kind of fill them in. Okay, so I think that's as good as they're gonna get. So I'm gonna go in with just a big fluffy brush and dust away very lightly that excess powder. And I kind of just drag it down the rest of my face that wasn't set. Okay. There's hair. Now I'm going to do a little bit of contouring. I'm going to be using my Kat Von D Shade and Light contour palette. I've had this palette forever, and I absolutely love it. This shade is my favorite, as you can see. What I like to do is I mix these 2 shades right here, and I find it creates a really pretty shade to contour with. For contouring, you want to have, you know, like a more ashy color, and I find that these shades are amazing. Okay, so I'm going to take a Morphe R14 brush, and I'm just going to dip into these 2 colors right here and start sculpting out those cheekbones. Get that big forehead. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a smaller, this is just an angled eyeshadow brush, and I'm going to contour my nose a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go under my lip a little bit, and that's going to help plump out that bottom lip. Then I'm also going to go right in the center of the Cupid's bow. Now that we're done with that, I'm going to bronze up my skin a little bit. You don't have to bronze and contour. I'm just going to because I feel like my face needs a little bit more warmth to it. So I'm just going to take my Marc Jacobs Tantastic Bronzer, and I'm going to take a MAC 135S brush, dip it in there, and just bronze up my skin. Honestly, this color right here is perfect for contouring as well. Okay, now I'm going to go in with some blush. I'm going to be using the Becca Mineral Blush in the shade Wild Honey. Just taking a big fluffy brush. This is a Japanese powder brush. And then I'm going to take some highlight. This is the Ofra Highlight in Rodeo Drive. I love this. It's my new favorite highlighter. And I'm going to take a Morphe R36 brush, just highlight away. Okay, now let's move on to lips. And I'm going to be using the lip liner. This is the Kat Von D Everlasting Lip Liner in the shade Bow and Arrow. It's my favorite color. And I'm just going to line my lips a little bit. This is like the perfect lip liner shade. I love it. And then I'm actually just going to go over it with a gloss. So I kind of filled them in a little bit. And I'm going to be taking the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb and just applying that all over. And then I'm just going to spray it with some MAC Fix Plus. I'm running out. Good thing I have an extra in my bathroom. And we're just going to spray that. And then I'm just going to go over that with a big fluff. And like when you spray a setting spray, going over it, you know, with a beauty blender or a fluff, really helps to just melt those powders into your skin. Alright, so this is the final look. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Let me know if you try it out. Send me photos. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram so you can see when I post new makeup looks, I guess you can say. Because sometimes I create new makeup looks and I don't video them just because I'm not sure how they're going to turn out. You know, I'm not sure if they're going to turn out good. This one turned out really good even the second time, so I'm really proud of myself for that. So let me know what you guys want to see next. I'm thinking like a contour and highlighting video, maybe. We will see any other like types of looks you want to see. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and hit that subscribe button as well. I will see you guys next time. Bye.